Miss Danny. Wait and see if we get one more person on. Give an update. Morning, Nikki. All right, so we have Miss Danny and Nikki. All right, wanted to give you guys an update. Last night, we caught up with Mom at Holy Cow, and Arthur was up on Horsey Hill on the tall poles. Good morning, Fraser baby. Then Mom took off and she went to Riley Robb, and Wink had disappeared. So our best guess was he was probably eating some prey and was going to do a prey drop for her. She was definitely on the lookout from Riley Robb, and we've seen her do that a few times recently. We've been here this morning for over 45 minutes, maybe not quite an hour, and we've been hanging out, hoping to see one of them, but we haven't so far. So hoping that Mom would at least show up a little later, and then Wink would reappear. Our guess is Wink probably was here 6:30. Yes, earlier than we were. Let's put it that way. And then he probably headed off. So today may be a day of rest, which. Hello? I didn't say anything, sorry. Okay. So they just, usually we see this, they'll sort of be gung-ho, right? For a couple of days, for a few days, and then it's sort of quiet. But come on, you two. Somebody want to show up? Not seeing him over on Horsey Hill. Not what I can see from here. Not sure where those two are. Anyways, we wanted to. We'll wait here a little bit. If we get lucky, one of them will pop up. But we did want to give you an update that it's been rather quiet since we've been here. And here comes Cabo. I'll let Karel show you the construction. The walls have definitely. These guys are moving along. Let's put it that way. They're definitely taller than just 2 days ago. So they're quite efficient. And Karel was right. It's definitely going further west than. I'm sure the drawing showed exactly what it was, but it's been a while since we've seen it. I didn't recall it going quite that far west. I started a short stream to tell everybody it's been quiet. Do you want to show them the construction? Huh? Yeah. No, I just told them, I said it's been quiet here this morning.
Okay.
My best guess, I told them that, last night we saw him, and best guess is Wink was here before we were.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. He may have just done, the one stick delivery.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go down and...
Yeah, you can show them. I was describing how the walls they're moving along.
They're moving along. Yeah. For sure. I mean, I was just thinking based on the pace of where we are now, they will, if the guys go to the nest, they'll still be working on the footprint when the eggs are already. When will the eggs usually get laid?
It depends.
No, I know,
Mid
but
to 20s.
mid to
March.
20s of March. So that's like 4 weeks, 3-4 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Whatever, something like that. 3.5, 4. I think the eggs will be in the nest before the crane shows up. Based on, I mean, they're moving along, but they still have,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I have to say, I'm glad that they're doing this end.
first.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
And, you know,
Then
past the nest.
Then they're going to move
later.
away and do the rest of it
Yeah.
at the other far side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is good. So you can show that and buy a little bit more time to see if they appear, but
Yeah.
we may not see them.
All right, well, I'm just going to take this here
Yeah.
with me. All right.
Not that you're going to hear me over that.
Yeah. All right, so we have a bright sun here for sure. And so I don't know if you guys were with us when they did when Charles worked on the tower and the wiring and stuff like that. So just a quick recap, he was going to connect that top box there and the bottom box down there. So at the top he was going to connect the wiring that's coming down from the platform into the connect it to the wiring coming up from the box below. So let's just start at the bottom. So at the bottom, at the base of the tower, there's power coming in from Weil. It's running along a conduit along the surface at the base of the fence, and then there's a power coming up to the box. And then from that building over there, there's a trench that runs to the corner underground and runs to the base of the tower, and that's fiber, optical fiber that comes there. So, and then in that box there's a switch, which basically just is a converter from optical fiber format to Ethernet format. So, basically, at some point you have to, because the cameras can't deal with optical fiber directly into them, you have to, they can only deal with Ethernet cables coming into them. So at some point you have to convert the type of wiring from one to the other, and that's what happens in that bottom box. So then the idea is that there's one or two or however many Ethernet cables need to run up to that upper box. And that's just a place where there's another connection. You can connect and couple the wires coming down, the Ethernet cables coming down from the cameras and the audio or whatever it is they've got going, and you can connect the bottom, the stuff coming from the bottom and the stuff coming from the top. You can connect it in that box up there. So that's the idea. That way you can sort of maintain segments of this whole run and not have just like one long run of stuff, right? And anyway, the thing is that there's a couple of issues. There was some water in the box at the bottom, I believe, and the top box was okay, but the wiring that was pulled from the bottom box to the top box seemed to be non-standard and kind of damaged potentially. So Charles was having to like cut the wire at the top in that box coming from the bottom and re-terminate it, meaning put new connectors on it, but the wiring was sort of non-standard, so he was kind of somewhat guessing at which color wire goes into what part of the connector and stuff. So anyway, that whole thing needs to be sorted out and before he goes back up, or as part of going back up again. All right, so you can see that they are, the building itself, we've got quite a bit of. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Gotta get 2 fingers here. There you go. That's not bad. Okay. So, right, so you can see they've got equipment. The walls are probably going to be about, if they stop there, which I think they will, because there's no more rebar coming up above the top of the form. So yesterday, when we were here Wednesday with Charles, the forms here by the nest are only as short like that, right, or not at all. And now they've added another section of form there, and so it's probably the wall is probably gonna be about a little bit over 6 feet, 6.5 feet, maybe 7 feet tall above the footing, because you can see the guy standing there, and the forms are a little bit taller than they are. So the east end of the building, which is what they poured first, they basically have got a section of footer there and the first set of rebar there, and then here, starting at this corner, they have the lower section of form, which they poured, or they set up the forms all the way to there, right? So that's about 2/3 of the length of the building. And further down there, where see that berm of dirt that runs from that red-orange sort of generator thing, that thing right there, that is going to run from that corner all the way down to the building. And you can see that they are, that's going to be the west end of the building. So think about, they're going to start digging trenches there. They've already started to dig some trenches there a little bit. You can see the dirt and the snow are disturbed, and they've got heater, they've got tarp there and stuff like that. So they're gonna extend this footer that's there all the way down to that berm there, to the end of that tarp. And then they're going to run all the way that way toward the big build, toward Bartels, until they intersect the work that's being done over there. So essentially, I think they're doing a nice job here, because one, those trailers that are down there, those trailers were originally going to be underneath the towers here, right? And so let me just, I guess I'm going to zoom back out again, because this is a little the other way. Okay. All right. So those trailers were going to be here under the building, and I don't know how noisy they were, but they were basically visually sort of disruptive, right? But they decided to move them down there, which I think is great. And so we had just smaller materials here. People are walking in among them and stuff like that, and there's just this forklift that is just basically pulling stuff off of flatbeds as they pull in, and then dumping over here onto this little materials yard and stuff. But it's basically pretty lightweight, and most especially is visually lightweight, right? The other thing they're doing is that they are doing this north end of the wall first, in the sense, yeah, they laid out, maybe the back end there, and then that side, and then this side of footers, and they're extending the footers all the way down to the far corner, southwest corner. But as far as like putting up forms and stuff like that, they're doing this form first, which is great, because that means that as they do the work, and as we get closer to egg laying time, sort of the banging and blah blah blah, form building and stuff like that, which is not terribly disruptive, but they're doing this first. And so far, mom and dad have not been perturbed by this kind of stuff, but it's great. So it's visually, they're getting this stuff done first, and then they'll work their way back around that side and down and around and stuff like that. And they'll extend this. You can tell that this equipment is just pretty loud all by itself, right? So anyway, they're basically doing the stuff on this end of the building first, and then working their way away from the nest tower, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So they'll be working their way that way, they'll be working their way back around that way to the far end, and things like that. At the same time, they are doing work on the center of the building. They're preparing the soil and stuff like that for subsurface structures, you know what I mean, and whatever else they have to do in order to put utilities or trenches or that kind of stuff, and then eventually do a pour of concrete. I assume they're going to do concrete in the center of the building and so forth. So I'm thinking that these forms are not going to get any taller for the most part. There goes a goose overhead, and they're bringing in some materials. So I guess this guy is probably going to come and reach over. He might. We'll see. I don't know. Oh, he's laying some pipe. But anyway, you can see that they're dropping materials here, and then they haul the materials over to the building footprint. A lot of it by hand. So they've got forms here, they've got some wood there, support materials, they got some, and then they got rebar. That forklift is dropping long lengths of rebar and stuff there. So eventually they'll have to come into the footprint and pour concrete into the forms and then on the pad. And then when they're done with that, so this bottom part, this concrete work, is probably going to extend well beyond when the eggs are laid in the nest, right? So then the eggs will be in the nest. That's my guess based on, I mean, they're moving along really well here, right? This is a very efficient crew. A lot of guys working, and they're accomplishing a lot very quickly. But still, I'm guessing that the concrete won't be done until well after the eggs are laid in the nest, which is good if that's the case, because then they're committed to the nest, and then the crane will come in, and so where that truck is right there going back and forth, so that they will lay protective padding, protective sheets, pads, whatever it is, kind of stuff on the ground, and that's what the crane will run back and forth over. They'll bring the crane in from that end, and it'll work its way over here, and before they do that, they will lay however much sort of heavy duty, I'm just going to call it pad, right? It's like a reinforced material, and that's what the crane will run back and forth over, and it'll do that, and it will bring in materials. Materials will be brought into this area here. The crane will pluck the materials and reach out way over the footprint of the building and start dropping steel where it needs to be built, so they'll build the verticals and stuff like that, and then eventually the crane will start picking up rafters, girders, and stuff like that to support the roof structure, and start dropping that in there and tying it in and working from one end to the other, and then they'll start cladding the building and stuff like that, and the roof and the whole 9 yards. And I don't know how tall the building's going to be. Maybe it'll be as tall as the wrestling center. Maybe it'll be taller than the wrestling center. Maybe it'll be as tall as Bartell's. I'm not sure. It will probably look a lot better than Bartell's from what I've seen. You can see all those long rebars that forklift is lifting off of the flatbed there. And then down there where that heavy equipment is beyond the berm, that's where the new outdoor field women's field hockey field is going to be. So anywho, that's kind of like what's happening here. We got a beautiful sunny day, but we got no hawks. We got lots of starlings and sparrows yakking away over back behind me at Furno Hall. And it's a beautiful day to be a red-tailed hawk or a construction worker here. So I wish they were doing, I don't know if they're doing a time-lapse photo of this or not. It's actually pretty interesting. They probably aren't. So let me say hi to who's on. Yeah, I think I would probably. Birdie, I think you're absolutely right. Yep. Hi, Debbie and Adriana. And Frasier Baby, and of course Birdie and Danny. Yeah, they do. They're quick. I mean, some of these constructions are quicker than the other ones. Atkinson seemed to take forever to do. I think this is the guy, one of the construction guys said this was like a 2-year project here. So, and Bowers is mostly clad on the outside, and I'm sure they're already doing stuff. They do stuff on the inside already, even while they're cladding the outside of these buildings and stuff like that, in terms of, wiring and all that sort of stuff, and starting to bring in, for labs, especially bring in shelving and all that kind of stuff. Once the building is sort of weather sealed, regardless of whether it's got the final cladding on the outside, they can do a ton of stuff on the inside, and they do. So it all kind of completes at the same time. You know what I'm saying? All right, so that's the Spiruni here, and like Cindy said, she had BR yesterday morning here in the nest, and then we saw both of them. We saw Wink on the south side up on the tall double, and BR was hanging out over at Holy Cow last evening. All right. So we'll just go back over here and pop it on the scope for a little bit, and then we'll see what's going to happen. I have to get to work here pretty soon. Oh, yes.
Yeah, you saw it?
No.
In the nest?
Oh, were they in the nest?
So, yeah. I didn't see them pull anything out, but it's a long ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our only visitors up there this morning that we've seen are
the Clarices. Yeah, I saw them. They're like fluttering down there.
Yeah, they're down below, and then they're in the nest, and they'd go out to the hidey hole, and we're on the bar there, and I thought, oh my Lord.
They're funny.
Yeah, I think, they're either were here before we were, or maybe coming after, or not. Today's the day of rest.
Today's the day of rest.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have much to do, right?
No, I get it.
You know what I mean? They've got...
Yeah, and it could be too early for bark, right?
Too early for bark, maybe. And
that we know of.
Yeah, so they, can be off mating somewhere, and they're just hanging out and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at least you had them here yesterday morning in the nest. You had Big Red.
Yeah, both.
You had both in the nest yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So that's good, and we saw both of them last evening. So we'll see what happens if Charles contacts us again and it works out that we can do it one more time, and hopefully there'll be success. I don't know if he's going to have like the electricians or whatever it is
do something different.
do some prep and pull some new wire and
so
all
that
that
may
kind of
take-
stuff.
Yeah, next week is not as warm.
Right. Yeah, today would have been a fabulous day to be here doing this, but things take some time.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know what time it is, but I probably, since I don't have any customers,
You don't have no customers.
I'm very sad.
It's 8:45.
Okay,
All right.
let's get moving.
Hi, Jan. Hey, Nikki. Yep. So you guys check out the stream. We're gonna head off to work and stuff, and mostly just an update on the sightings we had yesterday, and a little bit of an update on what's happening here. A bit of an explanation. So yes, I think you're right. It's great that they're doing
Yes.
this end of the
I
building,
agree.
even though they started
Yep.
and everything like that. But
yeah, get as much as that done close to mom.
right. I mean, they'll have to pour it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're, I mean.
But as far as
they're
like,
moving.
yeah, as far as like being banging on stuff and things like that, it's pretty good.
Okay.
All right, guys, take care. We'll see ya.
Bye bye.